Welcome to Us in My Life. Love you and cause I love you so much. Oh, 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 I just love you. I just like help. I just like help. I just like you too. I just like you.
I just got to cut her a little short. That's Ariana, and she is such a sweetheart. But she does love to help, and that's what the show's all about today. Helping with nutrition information and knowledge from our contributor, Beth Wyman. So good morning, or good afternoon, Beth. It's noon already.
Yes, where we are, it is afternoon already. So I know Ron had said last night, do you have somebody that's going to join us today, too?
I was hoping. I'm always inviting people to participate in the show. She's not on yet, but I'm hoping that she can be. So, but I'm always telling people, especially women but men, to take advantage of the information that is given on this show. Because nutrition isn't really just for women. Nutrition is for everybody. And the more knowledge that we have, really seriously, the longer we'll live. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. It tends to be that the people that, I mean, it's interesting because there's so many metrics that I can see with social media and not so much my website because I don't have cookies set with it, but definitely with social media, I can see the types of people that engage with my content, right? And it is primarily women. And and I actually spread two different age brackets. It's primarily women, and it's primarily 20 to 40. 20 to 40 years old, and overwhelming majority women. There are some men, and of course it's interesting because my content truly isn't female focused necessarily. It is just general education, but those are the types of people that tend to look for that general health and wellness type information. But it is for everyone.
And a lot of times, I'm sure the women that are preparing the meals, a lot of times, the majority, I would say.
It depends. I mean, I've worked with all different kinds of like familial setups, and I've had plenty of male clients, but it's definitely not the majority. And it kind of depends. Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors at play. I think there's like that, the stereotypical man who doesn't want to stop and ask for directions. I think there's a little bit of that sometimes. Of like, oh no, I can figure it out on my own. And I'm like, but if you just ask, like, I can help you, and it's going to take a lot less time to get where you want to go. So there's a lot of different things at play. But it's good to see anybody take control of their health and get more information about it, so that they can work on being better, improving themselves. Mm-hmm. So that's always good. So I don't have, there's so many things that were swirling around in my head today for a topic. So we can do like some little bits and pieces, I guess, of each, and I am preparing for the Health and Wellness Expo at the end of the week. I will be out in Buffalo for anybody that's listening and is out there.
It's something fun. That's what I have been doing myself. I made up some business cards for one of the topics that the Hope Collection engages with is Cambridge Credit Counseling Corporation, and so we're going to be the most important part is the health benefits that you're going to be sharing, but then we're also talking about financial health too, and the help that Cambridge can offer. And the Hope Collection does have a tie-in. One of our vendors is Cambridge. So I've been making some little handouts. They had sent a wonderful brochure, trifold brochure that we're going to be taking to a print shop. And but I've just been making some handy calling cards, like business card size, little handouts for people. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, the Health and Wellness Expo Saturday at the Aqua Restaurant. And Beth, I will email the address unless you already have it from Dale, but I can get you the
I have it.
Exact. Oh, you have it. Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been
I've
there
got all
for
of
years.
it.
Okay, wonderful. But it's right on the waterfront, and it's so pretty. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a beautiful venue. I'm super excited to see it and to be there. And it's going to be like a table setup, so people can come by and you can either just very passively look at what's there, and I'll have some stuff out to read and digest. But then also, like, it's a place to ask questions, right? And it's actually doing things like this. I will probably walk away with other topics because I'll have a conversation with somebody and be like, oh, that would make a great podcast topic, because if one person is asking about it, 12 other people need to know about it. You know, it's
Exactly.
That's kind of the way I've always seen it. So it's going to be good for everybody.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to it. Excuse me.
Yeah, so I will have, I'm not sure. I think I will definitely have handouts. I have, I usually opt for doing like a scannable business card, or like a QR code on the table, and that way people can just get like directly in contact with me or download my contact information. But really, and like what I was talking to Dale about too, is really I'm going, yes, I have my own business, but I'm going there and I'd really like to be promoting our podcast too, right? Like, and using it as a platform to get more people involved with this podcast, because we've got this great opportunity to turn it into something so interactive, right? People are able to call in. We've got the Facebook group. They can always ask questions or drop things in there. Like, there's so many ways that people can be interacting with the show, and I'd love to lift it up and promote that too. So
Definitely.
it'll be good.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's going to be nutrition for busy people, because I feel like that's so universal. And it really works for, everybody. We're all busy. I don't think I've ever met anybody that's like, wow, my life is so slow. I mean, even like when my parents retired, I just remember my mom, after the first 6 months of being retired, was like, I don't know how I worked.
I was just going to say that. I've been retired for a year now, and believe me, we are just as busy. So it's wonderful. So that's a great topic. Because it is universal.
It is. And so, some of the big things that come up are, and it's definitely not a new idea, but preparing ahead of time, right? And so I sometimes struggle with this, definitely, because I don't want to do it in the moment. I'm like, I would rather just sit on the couch. I don't particularly want to plan ahead. And so I usually have to think about like doing it for my future self, almost as if like my future self was a different person. And future Beth really likes it when there's like just pre-made protein in the fridge that I can grab and put on top of salads or on rice or something for lunches. And, you know, future Beth really likes it when I've made a meal plan and put it on the fridge, because it just makes the rest of my week that much easier. And the time that I put in at the beginning is way less time than I would spend trying to figure it out every day. And so it in the long run, over the course of the week, saves me time. So we're not talking long run like, oh, you'll see the benefits in like a year or so. No, like 1 week at a time, and you'll start to see that benefit. So it's, it's good to plan it ahead. What?
I said I think I need a future Beth.
Yeah, so you do it for future Linda. Like everybody does it for the future version of themselves. Like I didn't feel like going grocery shopping, but I knew that like Wednesday Beth was going to need food. So instead of just being like, well, that sounds like a Wednesday Beth problem, like Monday Beth put in a grocery order. And and so some of it's meeting yourself where you are. I just, as much as I actually enjoy grocery shopping, I don't always have the time. So frequently I lean on doing grocery orders. It's just a lot. Actually, this is our last baseball weekend, but normally Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we're at the baseball field.
Oh, wow.
And it's not like he plays all day, but if we've got to drive to go to a game, like it does take up at least half the day. And then there's still laundry and feeding yourself and all kinds of stuff that plays into just daily activities. But anyway, so that's ending. So I'll probably have some more time to go grocery shopping. But it's really that give and take of like, where are you using your time, and how can you still get your needs met well, right? Because this comes down to like what's called like nutrition security versus food security. And it's this idea that like food security just means you have something to put in your mouth, right? Like you have food of some variety. Versus nutrition security would be like, okay, I've got the tools I need, so the tools being food, to meet my protein needs and my fiber needs and my vitamin and mineral needs and all this type of stuff, and really have like a good nutrition quality of life. So I find, and what tends to then work for other people, because I guess I was a good case study for myself, is that planning ahead helps a ton. And then also like having just quick, easy recipes, right? So like there's nothing wrong with having like a base set of like 10 things you rotate through. Like that's fine. You know that they work. You know exactly how to make them. It's going to reduce the stress level of when you go to make the food. So there's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes people get hung up on like, well, I can't repeat. And it's like, well, why not? Like if it worked and there's nothing wrong with it, it's, yes, variety is good, so just make a different vegetable to go on the side, or like have potatoes instead of rice. And kind of like, it's called like modular meal planning. There's actual terms for a lot of this stuff that I usually just kind of leave out. But modular meal planning works really well, so that you can just kind of swap things so that it doesn't get boring. So it doesn't require a ton of thought. And that's kind of what keeps it like reasonable enough that somebody can keep going with it. Because that's always the goal, is to like figure out how you can do it long term. Because I see a lot of that where like it's fine right now and it works with your current life setup, but how is it going to work as it gets busier? As things tend to always seem to do. Or not so much in the setting now, but when I used to work in bariatrics, it used to come up a lot of like, oh, well, when life settles down, then I'll do whatever. And I'm like, it's not going to. I'm like, that's a lie you're telling yourself.
I have to jump in right there, Beth, because, again, if you don't do something about that thought of yours just turned into a disease that nobody talks about called procrastination.
Yeah.
I wrote it down at the top of my notes today, Beth. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, too, Linda, for sharing that, because my future best, to me, that means that I'm a visionarian. I have the power to not get caught into I need to lose 180 pounds. I can see myself down to 130 to where I used to be when I was in high school. I can see into the future that I may not be able to walk that full mile with you today, Linda, but I'll walk around the block and head back to the house, and I'll see if I can walk a half a mile next week to where I can see myself doing it. It gives you what my grandmama used to call, Beth. She used to call it, before they called it visionarians, my grandmama called it spiritual insight. Because the first level is you must believe that you can be the best you that you can be. And then after a while of being in that faith walk with yourself and working on you, you start to know, I can do this. I can do this. Yes, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And then, Beth, where we are now, Linda, where you are now, you're spiritually mature enough to have something called trust. Yeah, you trust yourself. And you trust the one that you say that made you, which means that now, Beth, when you go back to the last part, Beth, is when you go to that future best you in you, it's less stressful that you know that Monday night I already have dinner prepared and the only thing I got to do is cook some more noodles. Linda, you can say, well, look, Ron doesn't really like this. I got one helping of the tuna and one helping of this with him. He don't want the same thing that I have. You can be less stressed. You can be a better you. You can live a better lifestyle. Back to you, Beth.
Yeah, and so that touches on like that manifestation of the future version of yourself, and you can argue that some of the not argue, but you could say that like some of the planning portions of it are, I don't know, also manifesting for the future. I call it planning for the future because it's more than just that like component of it, but that thought component does play a big role in like how you view yourself and the likelihood of whether or not you're going to stick to what you say you're going to do and that sort of thing. So there is a big component of that. And when people get stuck in like this negative cycle of like, oh, I'm never going to lose the weight or I'm never going to get my blood sugar under control. I'm like, well, you're creating like a, what's it called? Mm-hmm. Self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Right. Exactly.
Like, if you say that, then you're right. Like, you won't, because you're not going to be committed to it. You're not going to put in the work and the effort that you need to get where you need to go. So the more that you say, like, yes, I can, and kind of break it down into actionable steps, the more likely you are to actually complete the task. And then it creates, like, this positive cycle, because if you break it down and you're like, okay, how Country Boy was saying, like, you walk a little bit one day and a little bit more the next day and things like that, it becomes achievable. And then you're like, oh, yeah, look at that. I did that. I accomplished that. Cool. Now you can move on to the next goal, where it's a little bit farther away. And you're like, well, if I could do this goal, sure, I can do the next one. And it creates like a positive spiral instead. And that's how you end up with success, is basically sticking yourself into these positive spirals instead of a negative spiral. They both work. And
yep.
I mean,
what you think?
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said, actionable steps. That with anything, with meal planning, with dieting, with exercise, with doing anything you want to do, or need to do. It's just taking it, and breaking it down. You think, oh my, I have to do this huge thing. Well, maybe it's not that huge of a thing if you break it down into actionable steps. You know, it's just doing something every day and just, you know, getting something accomplished.
Yeah, that consistency factor, and I know I've said this before because it's like one of my biggest things, is that consistency factor, and it's not doing it perfectly for like a week, right, and then having to drop what you're doing. It's doing it to the best of your ability every single day, essentially forever, which can sound really daunting, but essentially forever, to get that result that you're looking for. And then, yeah, sure, you might mess up here and there. I mean, inevitably, you're human. You're going to get so much farther with that imperfect consistency than you will with a week of perfection and then giving up when it gets hard.
Exactly.
I heard both of you guys mention the term realistic goals, attainable. I think you said, Beth, and Linda, you said realistic. But see, a lot of people don't write things down, and we all know the old story about if you don't have a written plan, then you plan to fail. But also with me being a life coach and a teacher for years, goals can be real tricky too, in the fact that a lot of times when we say what by when, we have deadlines on certain goals. I want to lose 30 pounds this month. Now, is that really attainable? And you haven't been eating right, and you still love midnight snacks, and then the last part there, you just nailed it on the head again. What one has to remember is the only thing in life that never, ever, 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 is that enough ever, fails is consistency and persistency. You said it, Beth. You said you got to get in there and stay in there. And what happens is when you stay in there, you create yourself something called a new lifestyle. Back to you, Beth.
And and that's not easy, right? And I feel like a lot of times people are looking for the easy way to have better health, live longer. Losing weight is such a pervasive thing now. So, like, losing weight or whatever it is, they're looking for the easy way or the hacks, right? Like nutrition hacks or, like, weight loss hacks. And I'm like, that's not a thing. It's you either do it or you don't. Like, you have to put in that hard work and consistency. Again, I was like, I should find a new word, but we're just going to stick with it. And to get where you want to go. And so, no, it's not easy. And there's plenty of times where it's a lot easier to just go back to old habits. And I don't even know if it's necessarily easier, but it's more comfortable. Because I think I've said before, like, I think I've said it on here, a lot of times it's like this return to going to takeout for your food options, or like using fast food, like relying on fast food for your food options. And that's not, even though it's perceived to be faster, that's not necessarily the case, especially if you plan ahead, right? Like, I know, so not this week, but like, say I know it's going to be a crazy week. And so this requires me to like truly look ahead for my week. Like, okay, what do we have coming up for school? And do I need to go anywhere? What kinds of stuff do the kids have going on? And so looking at my week, and I can look at it and be like, oh God, like this is going to be bad. It's going to be hard. And so that's when like I get like frozen skillet meals where it takes me 10 minutes to make dinner, or one night we might have fried egg sandwiches, like where it's really quick and easy, but it still gets us where we need to go. And then like from a budgetary perspective, me making egg sandwiches not only is nutritionally better, so say we have like egg sandwiches, this is a really weird combination, but we will do egg sandwiches and then baby carrots with ranch. So very non-traditional like food pairing, but it works really well for us. We've got a whole grain bread, so we're getting in fiber and whole grains. We've got the eggs. For mine specifically, I usually do 1 whole egg and 2 egg whites because then I know I'm getting in all of my protein. The kids each do, well, one does 1 egg, the other one does 2, just because one's growing incredibly quickly right now. And then we're also getting in a vegetable. Like, we're getting in a great meal for a lot cheaper. I mean, I don't have the breakdowns in front of me, but it's a lot cheaper than going to get takeout. Like, I live down the street from, literally at the corner is a McDonald's, a wing place, a Bruegger's Bagels, a Dunkin' Donuts, and a Subway. And yes, that's more than 4 places because 2 of them share a building. So it's like we've got plenty of options, super close, but it's still like, and honestly, like from a mom perspective, sometimes the idea of putting my children into the car to go drive down there and get it is just like insurmountable. And so on many, many levels, I would rather make an egg sandwich. But that requires the pre-planning and making sure I've got that stuff in the house, right? Like, and something I realized that I haven't been great at the last couple of weeks is pre-planning snacks. So I eat like 1 snack a day. I'm not really like a snack girly, I guess. But my children enjoy snacking. It's just they also eat their meals, but then also enjoy snacks, which is very normal. And I have this weird, essentially at this point, I only do adult nutrition, right? Like I'm so far removed from like child nutrition. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, you just ate lunch like an hour ago. And I'm like, well, I mean, yes, you should be hungry again, but like, what, like, can I just give you a second lunch? But then it's like more work on me, right? So like there's this weird dynamic of like, well, yes, I could give you another sandwich, but like I have other things to do. I'm not going to stand in the kitchen and make sandwiches all day. So I need to prep more snacks. And we do some pre-prepared snack items like freeze-dried fruit. I think it's freeze-dried or dehydrated. No, we have dehydrated, but then also the ones that are like crispier, like the strawberries and stuff, which of course I'm out of. I think they're freeze-dried. Those are a huge hit, and I dropped the ball and didn't put any in my order, so I don't have any right now, and I thought that they were going to mutiny last night. So having those things around that they can just take and eat on their own, but I know is still a good, like, nutritionally dense option, has kind of been my go-to. And so I usually make these, like, peanut butter bites that live in the fridge that they can just take and eat. And they're full of, they're super calorie dense. Like, one is like a rounded tablespoon, and it's 100 calories. So they're super dense, and they've got lots of fiber in them, so keeps everybody moving.
Quick question.
I need to make those. Yeah.
Quick question. When you do these snacks, and again, we talked about moderation, do you like Ziploc them up so that you'll know how many you're eating? Because, when we take the snack box of cookies to the bedroom, we just eat out of the box until you didn't realize that it says 6 servings on the back, and you ate the whole. I can't believe I ate the whole thing. But Beth, do you section them out? Do you ration? Not, I don't want to use the word ration them, but
ration.
And the last little part of that, you said you couldn't give us the whole formula. You said because I love egg sandwiches with cheese. I always eat cheese. I'm a dairy person, y'all. But you said I have 1 whole egg and then 2 whites. Did you discard the second yolk in that egg or something? Did I miss something?
I throw it away.
Do I?
I throw away 2 yolks. They get sacrificed. I know.
Oh, my Lord, for real?
Yeah. So if you don't want to sacrifice your yolk, you can just buy a container of egg whites, and that way you don't ever have to sacrifice a yolk.
What? Get out of here.
You have no idea how many times I've had this conversation. So many people are absolutely appalled, and it's such a hang-up that I throw away these yolks, and I'm aware that I could save them and make custard, and I am not going to do that. I'm just not going to do it.
What's the portion? I mean, what is it? What's in the yolk that you can't have two of them versus one of them? Is that not more protein, or what are you doing? Give us a little bit more information, Beth.
Yeah, so all of the protein of the egg is in the white of the egg. So when I do one full egg and then 2 additional whites, what I'm doing is adding in more protein, but I'm only eating the fat, which is the yolk, of one egg. And so and part of this is, right, I've kind of done a little bit of give and take. Like, I could do 2 full eggs, but I want a slice of cheese. And so this is where that, like, modular planning and kind of the give and take comes in, is if I want a high-fat cheese, because I'm not about to eat low-fat cheese. I'm eating regular cheese. So if I want my regular cheese on my egg sandwich, one of the yolks had to go. And that way it keeps and I still want to be able to dip my carrots in ranch dressing, which is another fat, right? So instead of having a super high-fat meal where I've got 2 to 3 yolks and cheese and ranch dressing, I dialed it back. I pulled out 2 of the yolks, and I've got the protein from 3 eggs, 1 yolk, and my cheese, and my ranch dressing.
Okay, Beth, thank you for that information, because I got to go back to I have younger twin sisters, Annette and Jeanette, and we have a friend of ours that has an egg farm. So I told you all about the double yolk eggs, but we always get free double yolk eggs. But when my sister does her breakfast, I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm throwing the yolks away." I said, "Why?" She said, "I can only have 1 yolk. I throw the other yolk in the trash." I said, "But you can put it in the flour." She said, "I don't want to put it in the flour. I'm going to throw it away." So she must know, Beth. I'm sorry to interrupt you again. She must know what you know. And I told my sister, don't say nothing about nobody you won't say to their face. I said, "You're crazy." So I apologize to you, ma'am, too, Beth. I said, "Why are you doing that?"
The looks that I have gotten, right? Like, remember, I've been doing this for 12 years. The looks I have gotten about throwing away the yolks, or like alternative, like it just, I'm like, listen, you can save them if you want. If you wanted to come take the yolks from my eggs that I throw away, I would gladly give them to you. But I am not saving them, and I am not using my freezer space to save the yolks.
But see, I got stuck in the scriptures when that old folks in the country used to say, when you find your significant other, Linda, Ron, y'all equally yoked. And then when you understand oxen, the word yoke means
country boy.
Together.
Country boy, the yoke's on you.
No, but information is powerful. Thank you for sharing.
The only time that I've done that is if I am making something with meringue. I just use the white. Ron loves cream brulee, so I would save the yolks in that. But that's because I would have 6 or 8 yolks. If it's just one, I agree. I would just toss it. You know,
wow.
If I was making something with meringue that I had.
That must be a woman thing.
You can only do so much. It's like you've reached the line, and this is where it is. And this is also why, like, I don't know. I like to think I'm very easygoing, and then it comes down to things like this, and it's like, well, Beth, how do you like your egg sandwiches? And it's like, oh, you know, fried with cheese or whatever. And I'm like, no. I need 1 whole egg. I need 2 egg whites. I need a whole grain bread. I need 1 slice of cheese. And it's like, you know what? Never mind.
I would ask you to leave my restaurant.
Yeah, I'd be like, just whatever you want to give me is fine.
But it works for you, and there's a viable reason behind it. So that's
okay.
That's the whole answer. So,
but
yeah.
I never knew. I never knew that before.
But see,
That's how.
Your sister was right.
Yeah, this is also how I ended up drinking. Like, if somebody's like, "Oh, let me bring you a coffee," and they're like, "How do you like it?" I'm like, "Just black." We're not going to get into it. Like, we're not going to get into it. Like, what I would prefer, it's fine. Just black, 2 Splenda. Sure, that's great. If I want it my way, I will just go get it or make it myself. Like, I'm making coffee right now, and I'm putting chocolate collagen powder into it. But, like, how do you explain that to somebody? Like, I would like my coffee, but I would like 2 scoops of chocolate collagen powder, or I would like a sugar-free hot chocolate packet in it. Like,
Linda,
I get very specific when I can do it myself.
Would you believe me if I told you my grandmother's favorite recipe for coffee, and I have it written down in formulation for it, black coffee with a half a teaspoon of honey, and she would say, "Baby, go get me some of that red clay off the bank." And we knew exact spot my grandmama wanted it. I don't know, it had 20-something different minerals in it, but she would put a half a teaspoon red clay in her coffee, black coffee. Then she would put a half a teaspoon of sugar, and then I found out later that little powder that I didn't know what it was turmeric, and then the little sprinkle of cinnamon. And now I'm thinking, wow, my grandmama knew about all those kind of things, and she had a 6th grade education. But she was full-blooded Cherokee, so they knew her. And the last part of that is, I said, Grandmama, why do you put dirt in your coffee? She said, do you know what the coffee bean and dirt has in common? I said, no, ma'am. She said, they're both ground.
Okay.
The yoke's on you. The yoke's on you.
It's, like my coffee yesterday, right? It was, and speaking of cinnamon, I do, actually, maybe, I don't know. I was like, no, I have my heart set on the collagen powder in it right now, but my other favorite way is with my 2 Splenda, some vanilla extract, and a cinnamon stick. The whole stick goes right in. And that's really delicious because it's like a cinnamon vanilla. It's a very warm, like, taste, I guess you can say. Like a warm, sweet taste to have the cinnamon and vanilla in there.
What?
Good afternoon.
Hello?
Oh, Linda and Beth, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good. This is Ron. I'm calling. I'm in the car heading back to my home. I just wanted to stop and interrupt. I know you're in the middle of the show, and I know I came in the middle of the show, but I do want to make an announcement if you haven't done it already. This Saturday that you are going to be featured in a National Health Expo at the Aqua in Buffalo, New York. Everybody that's listening in on this call, Beth will be a featured guest celebrity in the Health Expo at Aqua. And she's going to be sharing much of the kinds of things you're talking about today and other questions that you might have about your health. And we're just so excited to have her and bring her to Buffalo. So we're glad that you're going to be here, and we look forward to seeing you. We've been talking to each other for a year now, and now we're going to meet you in person, and we're really excited about that. And
I know that's so funny. We've met over Zoom, and obviously we talk, but this will be our first in person.
It's going to be super, and I'm really excited because I believe the radio station is very excited about having you there. And I know you met Dale Martin, he's sales manager from the radio station, and I know you guys chatted about the program and how you guys are handling it, and that's wonderful. I just wanted to make sure that the world, the Hope World, and the Golden Rules Society people that are listening in on whatever platform they're on, that you are going to be featured as a guest speaker at this expo and conclave. And so we're just excited, and I want to let everybody know that stuff.
Oh, we have been talking about it.
Oh, great.
It's going to be a good time.
You bet. I'm going to get off because I'm sure the noise I'm bringing to you and being in the car, you probably could have a much more quiet program. But good talking to everyone. Country boy, good to hear your voice. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you for sharing, Ron, because I didn't want to miss the congratulations either, Beth. You know, a new board member with the Hope Foundation, doing so many wonderful things. And, again, you're opening up a lot of questions that a lot of people want to know about. A lot of people have questions. Oh, I don't want to ask that. Oh, that's a crazy question. But, Beth, you just giving so many people so many insight and answering a whole bunch of people's questions that did not or will not ask to have the opportunity to ask. So continue, please, sweetheart. I appreciate you. We love the information and the knowledge that you're sharing with us.
Yeah, and that's my goal with this, really, is that there's so many things, for lack of a better word. There's so much out there, right, especially in the world of food and nutrition, and we forget or don't know any better sometimes, I think, to go back to the people who are truly food experts, registered dietitians. And I'm doing some other work right now with like education of the medical community on food as medicine. And it's actually been a little bit refreshing because I've had to go back and look through the education requirements for dietitians and see like what's involved in our undergraduate degree. And it's refreshing to go back and realize like I am much more than just like how to not eat too much and how to not overeat. Like that would essentially fall into like binge eating, and it's such a very, very small part of what I am capable of doing or do with my degree and my skill set. And it's interesting because like the registered dietitian exam, like, yes, medical nutrition therapy is on there, and that's what it's actually not what people usually think of when they think of dietitians. They might think of medical nutrition therapy, but they typically think of meal planning, which is, again, like a piece of what we learn.
Part of it. Yes.
It's such a small part. And meal planning, I don't think was even on the exam. It's an intervention strategy. And so like knowing intervention strategies would definitely be on there, but it's not like that would be really the only reason that it's even mentioned in our accreditation is because it's an intervention strategy. It's a lot more focused on like, there's actually a lot in there now about like policy and understanding like how to like navigate the healthcare field, especially for like reimbursement and things too. So, which wasn't, I don't remember it being in there. I have to go back to be able to definitively say that it wasn't, but that has changed so much. And now I'm part of actually bringing that into the students where I did my undergrad. I come in as a guest lecturer to teach them about billing insurance companies for nutrition services and how to properly code to actually get reimbursement from what we use to access healthcare from insurance. So like that's in there, areas that I find interesting. So things like federal regulatory guidelines for food safety and food provision. So think of like any kind of daycare centers or schools that are getting financial reimbursement for the government. Like there's all kinds of guidelines that they have to follow. So knowing and understanding those guidelines and how to enforce them and that kind of stuff. I'm actually fully qualified to be a USDA meat inspector.
Huh?
which I always find wild. I don't know why that's what I find like super interesting, but I'm like, oh, I could be like a meat inspector or a health inspector. I'm all set, and there's things that I really don't ever need to see. Yeah, but a lot of it's also like managerial based in terms of like how to operationally run and manage a facility kitchen.
Mhm.
So all kinds of stuff above and beyond meal planning, and even above and beyond medical nutrition therapy, because it's one thing to be able to, the word immediately I was going to use is regurgitate, and that really brings up some visual, but like above and beyond like regurgitating information to somebody of like, oh, you have X, Y, and Z, so you need to eat this way, and kind of like sending them on their way. What I do differently, and what I really have always leaned into in my practice is behavior change. So like the different stages and theories of behavior change, motivational interviewing to elicit behavior change, and then like habit stacking, pattern changes for like continued success. So even though I really I ended up in sort of like more, I don't want to say basic, but like I primarily do obesity counseling and diabetes counseling, and that, as well as like heart disease, because that tends to fall in with both of those things as well. But what I look at is like, yes, the diet may be simple, and I could just hand you a sheet of paper and send you on your way. That doesn't mean you're going to change anything. And especially because those three things are such hugely impactful factors when it comes to health. I mean, they're pretty prevalent in society as well. So teaching somebody how to make changes to help, like, improve their health is really where my particular flavor of nutrition counseling or medical nutrition therapy kind of falls, is not only telling you what to do, but also not telling you how to do it, but helping you figure out how to do it. That's one of the biggest things is like, it's called like either like patient or participant, depending on where you're working, centered goal. So like patient-centered goal setting would be more of like, we talk about the issue, we talk about some different things you could try, and you pick one of the patient picks what they want to try working on. Like we may talk about like 3 different things, and you're like, I could definitely do that one. And I'm like, cool. Don't worry about the other 2. Just focus on the one you picked. And then that becomes easy, and then we pick a different one. And we keep doing the first one, but then we add in the second one. And so this is way into the weeds of like behavior change. But what it ends up doing is there's more empowerment on the part of the patient, and they are more likely to actually make the change because they selected what to change and have agreed to work on it.
Beth, can I interrupt and get you to do us a quick favor? Can we throw diabetes underneath the bus today, because I have a lot of friends and family now they changed the name from this to now it's this and that and the other. Can you give us a cliff note on if you was talking to a group of people that might need to hear what you're getting ready to tell us if I shut up about diabetes? That same example that you gave us, example 1, get to do this, and then step 2, get to do this, so that they don't feel overwhelmed in the process. Does that make sense?
So, I mean,
does that sound like a question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Tell me if I get it. So, like, if I was working with somebody with diabetes, right, and we take that as our example, we would talk through, like, I always start with where the person is right now. Like, and usually the best way to figure that out is I don't have clients fill out, like, a 3-day food log before I talk to them. When we have our first meeting, you tell me everything you ate the 24 hours beforehand. And it inevitably, it always starts with, oh, that wasn't a great example. I'm like, no, it was perfect. Like, because you weren't eating to impress me. Like, you were just doing your regular day. And so we go through what they're doing, and that kind of tells me, like, okay, what's your current meal pattern? How are you structuring your meals? How often are you eating? What times are you eating as compared to when you wake up and when you go to sleep? And then it gives me a lot of information to work with. And so with somebody with diabetes, we would look through that, and we would look at, okay, when are you eating? Are you snacking? What's going into your meals? Same thing I would look at with somebody with high cholesterol or weight management concerns, but with diabetes, we would definitely focus in on carbohydrate intake as like our primary focus. And then we'd talk about what I like to call our areas of opportunity, some different things that we could possibly tweak and change to improve blood sugar control. And I would pick like top 3 things to highlight, be like, hey, these are some like 3 areas of opportunity I can see right off the bat that would really help you improve your blood sugar numbers. Which one of these do you think you would be able to work on before we meet again? Right? And it's like, I would love to see you work on all 3, but that's not realistic. Like, if somebody gave me 3 things to work on, I'd be like, that's never going to happen. Like, that's way too much. No. So, but like one thing is so much more manageable and achievable. So one thing at a time. It kind of depends. It depends on the clientele. Sometimes you get somebody that's super motivated that really can do like 2 or 3 things, or like has basically the time and energy to focus on more than one goal at a time. Yeah, like more than one thing to change at a time. And so in that case, we just change more things, but usually it's just one at a time.
That's one of the things that I started doing is one of the bad habit I got into was staying up really late. For years, I had to be up at 6 a.m., to get to work by 8 downtown. And so I kind of got lazy and just, would be in my craft room and just doing things. And and then I'd get up in the morning, I'd be so tired. So I have made, because it would be like 1:30 before I went to bed. So now I am made sure I'm as close to 11 p.m. as possible. And of course, it's always possible because I'm in control of what I do, really. But
that's true.
And that has helped me so much. I was not getting enough sleep. And so, I obviously been, watching what I eat and doing things more that way. Now my next that I have to work on is, again, the consistency and the consistency of exercise. Consistency in so many portions of, a day just helps out all around. Eating on time, getting to bed on time, just doing things that need to be done. I tend to make a list the day before of what I need to do the next day so that it's fresh in my mind. Because otherwise, it's like, oh, yeah, I was supposed to make that phone call, and here it is, 10:30 at night, and I never made it. And so, but if I have something written down, of course, things come up, but at the same time, if you have, I don't plan out every minute of the day by any means, but I do have things that I know have to be done, and so, just, have a plan, I guess, is what I'm saying.
It's, and have like a structure. It can be loose, right? But like having that structure of like, okay, this is what I'm doing with my time. And I mean, maybe this is a product of block scheduling back all the way back in high school, but I like to block schedule my time of like, okay, this is my time to exercise and get ready for the day. This is my time to like work for my contract with the food pantries. This is my time to do one-on-one client visits. This is my time to do paperwork. This is my time to like, and just kind of chunk it. I don't know. Like that's how I figure out how to fit everything in. It's also color coded.
Oh, I haven't done that. That sounds fun.
That is, I also color code everything, but it helps me figure out how to fit everything in, or when things come up, like, I don't know, I feel like we're in the full swing of birthday parties and things. I'm like, okay, that is fine. We can go to that, but then I need to move whatever, grocery shopping or cleaning or something. Like, I know, and that way, theoretically, something doesn't get totally dropped. I mean, believe me, it happens. Like, you can only juggle so many things, but it's, in theory, it doesn't get dropped because I have it written down and remember to move it. I also...
Beth, before you get too far gone, I wanted to thank you again because you not only answered my question when I threw the diabetes under the bus, that second dangler, because I'm working with a few people, and all three of them said the same thing at first. Well, I've always done it this way. Whoa. But, Beth, what I heard you say was I don't really come to somebody to help them with a spandex diet plan. I usually do a personal one-on-one interview and ask them some questions, but this is the gold nugget for me, Beth. I said, okay, out of these, which one do you want to change? Which one do you want to take home and do better on? That, to me, is worth more than a gold nugget, because if one's mind doesn't decide that they don't want to change, that they don't want to be better, that they don't want to be made well, that was a home run for me when it comes to people that we're trying to help. If they're continuing to do the same thing over and over again, thinking they're going to get different results, that's not going to happen. So thank you for answering part 2 of my question, Beth.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and it's just always a process. It's always that continual, like, which sounds so exhausting, but it's that continual process of trying and striving for continued improvement and doing the best that you can. Obviously not being perfect, like I said at some point today, like that's just never going to happen. It's not realistic, but continuing to be the best that you can and do the best you can all the time, forever.
Well, thank you, Beth. If you just want to wrap up the show, and hey, I look so forward to meeting you this weekend, and hopefully, we can have dinner Friday night, and then having just a really fun time. I like something like this because it's not all for me. There's no stress. It's just sharing and just being there and meeting people, and that's always fun.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Yes, I'm excited. So if anybody's in the area, come and say hi on Saturday at Aqua from, I think it's 12 to 4 we have the table open.
Yes. Yes.
So that'll be a good time. Always, you can find me in the Optimize My Life Facebook group, or you can find me on Instagram at BethWyman_RD. Thank you.
Thank you, Country Boy, for sharing and contributing. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a great, great afternoon. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.